You're having a conversation or an argument, and she says those 4 words. You just don't get it. You try explaining your side again, thinking maybe you didn't make yourself clear. But she gets even more frustrated. You're sitting right there, trying your hardest to understand, but somehow you keep missing what she's trying to tell you. Here's what's actually happening when she says, you just don't get it. And it's not what you think. She's not saying you're stupid. She's not saying you're missing some obvious fact. What she's really saying is, I don't feel understood by you right now. It's not about your intelligence. It's about emotional connection. There's a gap between what she's experiencing and what you're hearing. And that gap, that's what she means by you don't get it. Most men miss this pattern completely. You're focused on the facts of whatever you're talking about. She's focused on how the situation made her feel. When she says, you don't get it, what she means is, you're hearing my words, but you're missing my heart. You're trying to solve the logistics while she needs you to understand the emotional weight. And that disconnect, that's the whole problem. Think about it this way. She tells you something upset her. You respond with facts. But that's not what happened, or I didn't mean it that way, or here's the logical explanation for why you shouldn't feel that way. To you, you're just clarifying things. To her, you're proving her point, that you don't get it. Because it isn't the facts. It is how she feels. So what is she actually asking for when she says this? First, she's asking you to stop defending yourself and just listen. When you immediately jump to explaining why she's wrong or why the situation isn't what she thinks, you're making this about who's right instead of about her experience. She needs you to pause the defense mode and actually hear her. Second, she's asking you to validate what she's feeling, even if you see things differently. You can acknowledge how something affected her without agreeing that your actions were objectively wrong. Try saying, I can see this really hurt you, instead of, that's not what I meant. One validates her experience. The other deflects it. Third, she's asking you to get curious instead of defensive. Instead of explaining your perspective again for the 3rd time, try asking, help me understand what I'm missing. What do you need me to see? This shifts everything. You're not defending yourself anymore. You're genuinely trying to bridge that gap she's talking about. Here's what most men do wrong. She says, you don't get it, and you respond with, yes, I do, and then re-explain your point. That's literally the opposite of what she needs. You just proved you don't get it by insisting that you do while doing the exact same thing that frustrated her in the first place. Let me give you the actual phrases that work in this moment. When she says, you just don't get it, try one of these. You're right, I'm missing something. Help me understand what you're feeling. I can see I'm not hearing you the way you need to be heard. Can we start over? Tell me what I'm not getting. Notice what all of these do? They stop the defending. They acknowledge there's a disconnect. And they invite her to explain more instead of shutting down the conversation. Here's something critical to understand. Sometimes, you don't get it means she's tried explaining herself multiple ways and none of them are landing. She's frustrated because she feels like she's speaking a language you don't understand. In those moments, the problem isn't that she's bad at explaining. The problem is you're listening for facts when she's communicating feelings. Let's walk through what this actually looks like. She says, I'm upset you didn't text me back earlier. You say, I was busy at work, I couldn't check my phone. She says, you just don't get it. Old response, what don't I get? I literally just explained why I couldn't respond. New response, you're right, I'm missing something. Is this about more than just the text? See the difference? The new response opens a door. Now she can tell you, it's not about the text, it's about feeling like a priority, or it makes me feel forgotten when you don't respond all day. Now you actually understand what it is. Here's another layer to this. Sometimes you don't get it is code for you're not emotionally safe right now. If your tone is defensive, if your body language is closed off, if you're interrupting or dismissing what she's saying, she can't fully express herself. The moment isn't safe enough for that kind of vulnerability. So when you hear, you don't get it, check yourself. Are you being defensive? Are you making this about being right? Are you more focused on explaining yourself than understanding her? If the answer is yes to any of those, that's what needs to change first. One more thing that matters. After you've really listened and she feels heard, that's when you can share your perspective. But not before. Most men try to make themselves understood before making their wife feel understood. You've got that backwards. Her feeling heard has to come first. Here's the truth underneath all of this. You don't get it is actually an invitation, not an attack. She's telling you there's a gap, and she wants you to close it. When you respond with curiosity instead of defense, with validation instead of explanation, you're showing her you're willing to bridge that gap, and that changes everything. So next time your wife says, "You just don't get it," don't argue that you do. Don't re-explain yourself. Instead, say, "You're right. Help me understand what I'm missing." That one response changes the entire conversation. It proves you're more interested in connection than being right. And that's what she's been asking for all along. Comment below and tell me what you're currently struggling with when it comes to communicating with your wife. Click the link in the first comment or check my bio to grab the ebook that'll help you improve your marriage communication.